We're really happy to have you join us today, and we're eager to tell you about our university, which is located in the heart of the U.S. And my name is Daphne Johnston. I'm Associate Director of International Recruitment and Undergraduate Admissions at KU. And I have with me today two students who I will let introduce themselves.
Thank you, Daphne. So, hi everyone, my name is Nobi Morales. I'm from Brazil. I'm on my 4th year of study at KU, and I study business and economics. Thank you for joining us.
And hi everyone, my name is Francesco Rossi, and I'm from Lima, Peru. I'm a sophomore at KU, therefore it's my 2nd year, and I'm double majoring in business and civil engineering. And I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you. I'm very excited to have these two students because they're going to do most of the talking. But before we turn it over to them to share their experiences with you, I just want to give you a little introduction to the University of Kansas. As I mentioned, we're located right in the heart of the United States. Kansas is a Midwestern state. It's a very beautiful place. We're so proud of our campus because it looks like a park. The picture that you're looking at there is a true view of Kansas University in the fall. We have 4 seasons here in Kansas: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And we're just about to enter the fall or the autumn season, which is one of the most beautiful on our campus. In addition, I'll give you a few facts about KU. We have a total enrollment of almost 28,000 students, and the majority of those are located on our Lawrence campus, which is where we are today. 24,557 were enrolled last fall. Of those, the majority are undergraduates studying for their bachelor's degree, over 18,000, and about 6,000 are graduate students who are studying for master's and PhDs. We also have a medical center campus, which is located in Kansas City, which is about an hour away. In addition, I want to give you an idea about our international population because we have many international students here at KU. It's about 8% of our total enrollment. We just got the count for this fall, which is slightly higher than it was on the figures on the slide based on last year. We now have 2,233 international students enrolled this fall semester. The majority of them are undergrads, about 1,276, and about 950 are graduate students. They come from over 110 different countries in the world, but the majority at this time are coming from China, Saudi Arabia, India, South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. Now, if you added all of the Latin American and South American students together, they would be a large group as well, and I would assume there would be several hundred, maybe over 200 of you all total from all the different countries. Sorry we don't have that on the slide here. KU is very highly ranked. We're an excellent university. The American Association of Universities is a prestigious organization, and KU is one of 34 U.S. public institutions that are members of this organization. When you consider that there are over 4,000 institutions of higher education in the United States, that's quite a mark of distinction. We also are ranked highly by FISC, the Princeton Review, U.S. News and World Report, on a number of different factors. Our outstanding academic areas, many research opportunities for both undergraduate and graduate students, our winning athletic team, the great opportunities for extracurricular activities, an excellent honors program, which is in the top 10 in public universities in the United States. We also have a location that's quite beautiful, as I mentioned before. Lawrence, Kansas is located very close to Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, where we have our international airport. Lawrence is considered one of the top 10 college towns in the United States. The university is just within walking distance of our downtown, where there are many restaurants and places where people can hang out and enjoy themselves. We also have many shops, and the arts are quite strong in our community. There's convenient and free for students transportation, both on campus and off campus as well. The bus service is really a very good service in a community of this size. Lawrence has about 100,000 people total, so it's a nice size of town as well, like a small city. We have over 200 different academic programs at our university. We have both the bachelor's, the master's, and the doctoral degree programs, as I mentioned before, and they're in 13 different colleges and schools in the university. These are all listed here on the slide. Everything from our large College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which encompasses many degrees, probably 90 or more, our schools of architecture, design and planning, business, engineering, education, journalism, law, music, pharmacy, social welfare, health professions, the schools of medicine and schools of nursing, which are on our Kansas City campus. The students who are here today are in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and Economics, the School of Business, and the School of Engineering. And I'm going to let them talk to you a little bit more about their academic experiences here at KU, but I want to mention one more thing before I turn it over to you, and that is that we have many special services on our campus to help students to be successful and have an enriched experience beyond their academics in addition to their academics. We have, as I mentioned, a very strong honors program, which I know at least one and maybe both of you are part of it. I'm not sure, but I know Francesco can talk about that. We have certain transcript certification programs which show when a student has had global experiences, research experiences, and community service learning. There's also excellent academic advising, career planning, job placement services for students when they're studying for their degrees, internships, and after graduation. Many opportunities for leadership development. There are special programs for tutoring if students run into academic difficulties, improving their writing. And our faculty, which has a ratio of 18 to 1, 18 students to 1 faculty, is an excellent and outstanding faculty recognized for their teaching, their research, and their community service, some of them internationally recognized. And there are over 2,600 faculty on our campus. I think I'm going to stop giving the overview at this point. I may come back and talk a little bit later about scholarship opportunities and costs of attending the university and how to gain admission. But I want our students to talk most of the time. So I think I'll start with a question that I'll let each of you answer, and we'll start with Arnoldo. Why don't you tell us why you chose KU, how you made your selection of a university, and what is it about KU that you really like the best?
Thank you very much, Daphne. So, first off, like there's so many great things. Guys, I'm dead serious about this. This was a great decision to come here. I had no clue, and then and that it's part of the first part of the question, which is why did I choose KU? And it looked really good. You know, they had a good academic reputation. It had a thriving community, and it looked like a good choice. But realistically, I didn't know a lot about it, and so it it was in many senses a leap of faith, and But I wasn't, when I decided, I was very excited about it, but I wasn't all that sure. But after I came, it's by far one of the best decisions I've made, and it changed my life completely in so many different ways. It opened so many different doors that I didn't know existed before. So on that sense, it's been great for me. What I think it's unique about it, and there are a lot of unique things, but there are 3 key points I would say. The first one is it had very, very good research. And I've had so many great research experience I wouldn't have had otherwise. Second one is the international experience. Even being at KU has a wonderful international team, the work you guys do to make us feel welcome. And not only you, but all over there. Maybe it's something that could be concerning you, how am I going to be welcome, how is going to be the reception, and it's just great. KU has such a good international reception, and it's not only the staff but also the students. A very open town, Lawrence and KU campus, a very good place to be. And also, yeah, I think that would be the third factor is Lawrence, which is a wonderful town. It's about 100,000 people. I came from a city of like 6 million people, so I was afraid it would be a little small. That might be the case for you, and it's not. It has plenty for you to do, and it's a great town. Thank you very much.
Very
That's all.
good.
Well, my case was slightly different actually. I mean, like when I was in my last 2 years of high school, I started thinking where I want to go to school at, and like I decided I want to study abroad somewhere else, and I started looking for schools in the States, in Europe as well, and one of the key factors was also the economical aspect. I tried to look for a school where I thought I could get a nice scholarship, and KU was possibly the best choice I could get. I got a nice scholarship from the IE institution, which combined with KU got me the best deal. That was my main decision. And when I started looking for the school, getting informed, I was amazed from the campus. Like, it's huge. You have no idea how big is this campus. You can do everything here. And also, apart from the campus, I started getting in front of the schools. Did you know that KU actually invented basketball?
Yeah.
That's really amazing. I had no idea about that until I came here. But apart from the school and the campus, also academics are really important and tough here. I'm majoring in business and engineering, and I have the chance to meet some such as co-professors. And also what I like is that those classes which are requirements and you don't expect to take tend to be one of the most interesting ones. For example, right now I'm taking psychology with a professor called David Holmes, who wrote a book I heard about a couple years ago, and I would never imagine having that teacher as my professor, and he's so cool and funny. And then I had a great economic teacher, his name was Becker, and he like made me like that class so much, and now I'm thinking to taking an economics minor. So like, I basically love the fact that you never know what to expect. There is always something new to try, and that just keeps me engaged with this school.
Great. Those are wonderful experiences to share, and I think you brought up a couple of really good points. I think depending on what country and what educational system a student is coming from, they may have a very different experience before they come to the United States. And one of the hallmarks of a U.S. education is that liberal arts piece, that there's a set of general studies courses that any undergraduate student will take, no matter what they're majoring in. If you're in business or engineering or economics, you still will be taking a range of courses in our general education block. And you have a lot of flexibility about what you take there. And sometimes, as Francesco has shared, you get introduced to a subject that you maybe had an interest in, or maybe you didn't even think about before, that really enriches your experience, like the psychology or humanities or even a language course, although I know you both already have plenty of language already under your belt before you came. So let me ask you a few other questions, okay? You talked in general about the things you really like about KU, how you came here. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your adjustment in that first year. What were some of the things that were challenging, and what were some things that you overcame, or things that advice you could give to a student who's thinking about coming to the U.S. to study? I'll let you go first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I was most concerned about, how I would adapt to life in a new country. And it had some roadblocks and some challenges, but really, to be honest, it was easier than I thought. Like I was more scared than what it actually was. The language was a piece that needs adjustment after you get here, but KU has plenty of resources to help you with that, like help you with writing, help you with speaking better English, helping you with understanding English better. There are just so many resources at KU to help you with that. And another piece that was very helpful for me is, when you come here, part of the deal is that you want to be part of you want to experience the American life, maybe meet the new culture, meet American people. And it's very important that you and at least in my opinion, is that you reach out to also the American students. But having friends, because KU has 2,000 people, right? Plus international students.
Yes.
And
26, or 23, whatever I said.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Over
But more,
2,000.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna meet a lot of international people, and that helps a lot with the transition.
Mhm.
And because there's people in the same situation, most likely there are people from so many different Latin American countries. I think it's got a pretty good coverage. So odds are
from every
someone,
country at this
yeah,
point, right?
for pretty much about every country, and and that helped a lot with the transition.
Well, actually, some of the things that took me the most challenges were like simple stuff like learn how to wake up by myself or like do my own laundry. I gotta be honest, I never did that by myself at home. So like the first time I came here, my parents told me, don't forget to put whites on one side and color on the other. And I did so, but what I didn't know was that if you buy something new, you have to wash that by itself. Otherwise, you ruin your clothes. And you have no idea how many rules clothes I have at this point. But apart from that, I can be honest, one of the most challenging things was the language as well. I mean, I learned how to speak English since I was really young, but we still have a strong accent. And probably we will never be able to get rid of that. But that's something that characterizes us. And I can tell you, just like, by meeting new people and just talking to them, after a couple of conversations, they will get used to your accent, and that will become easy. And one of the things that helped me the most was the international student orientation. Because it was that first week when I was just hanging out with a bunch of international students who came to KU the same way I did. And now like we were all scared together, we were all afraid together, and that's how we made our first friend, and I still hang out with them. Then I started living on a student dorm where I was just surrounded by freshman American guys. Therefore, I was forced to integrate with them. But also, I was able to keep contact with my international friends, which I made during orientation.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really glad you mentioned orientation. And also the language adjustment, because I think everyone, until they travel outside of their culture, if they've learned another language, doesn't really test it out until they're into an environment where they're surrounded by the native speakers.
Also, I would like to say about the language is that at the beginning you feel like you cannot talk fluently because you have always that process of trying to translate someone from your language into English. But I think you will get to the point where you can sing and speak directly in English. I think you can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just building on that is that at the beginning it takes a little bit of time until you get used to. But you will, like that's the point. Like that it's something I'm sure you're gonna think about it. I thought about it, I bet you did. But it's gonna go away. Like it's one of the problems that because you're surrounded by the culture and there's so many resources to help you with it, in little time, a couple of months, a semester max, you're gonna be doing well. So don't worry about it too much.
And I would just also add this, for students who still need to improve their English, KU has a very open admission policy for undergrads, admitting students with any level of English proficiency. The TOEFL or the IELTS is required, but if a student needs to improve their English, they can be admitted fully to an academic program, bachelor's program, and still begin by taking some intensive English courses at first, or taking a combination of the intensive English courses along with their university courses. I know that neither of you needed to do that when you came, but many students do. Graduate students, on the other hand, do need that proficiency before they start, because graduate students, both of these two students are undergrads working on their bachelor's, but students who go into the master's or the PhD programs need to have a higher level to start with because they go right into their full courses. A lot of them are teaching or doing research, and so they need a very high level of English proficiency. You probably have that yourselves. But the other thing I wanted to mention was the international student orientation, which I'm glad you brought it up, because each semester in the fall and in the spring, which are our two major semesters, the International Student Service Office has a special orientation just for international students, which you both attended, I know. And as Francesco mentioned, students always say this: I met my best friends at KU that first week. And they are students from all over the world. And these connections with these other students from all over the world become lifetime friendships. And you get really well grounded in that first week, so that when all the local students come back on campus, you're ready, you know where everything is, and then you branch out to connecting with the American students who come from all the states in the United States. Okay, I'll give you a chance to talk again. You mentioned housing, and I know you both had different experiences there. Would you tell us about where you lived, how that was, where you're living now, and I think in Francesca's experience, you should talk a little bit about being a resident assistant, okay? So how about you starting?
Okay, thank you. So my first year at KU, I lived in the dorms, the residence halls. I think it's a great option when you're just starting. It's a great option to live on campus because it's good for you to get accustomed to how things work. And then you are surrounded by people on having the same experience as you. Oh, and that's another interesting thing because like the American guys are, and guys and girls obviously, they're moving out of their house for the first time also. So I mean like we're coming from another country, but they're more like, it's a pretty similar situation when you think about it. It's the first time they're moving out of their parents' place. Most of the times they live in another cities, sometimes quite far away. So first year student housing, residence halls, great option. After that I moved off campus to an apartment, and that's where I've been living ever since with roommates.
I actually lived my freshman year during also in a school, in a residence hall. I live in Oliver, and I love it. And I like it because like I was close to campus, therefore I could just walk, or sometimes when I was like I just took the KU bus to go to classes. And I like it because there were both guys and girls in the hall, and we could always hang out with each other. Everyone had like a open door policy, so you just basically go to your neighbor's room, just play some video games with them or just chat. It was really cool. And in every floor you have like a small lobby where everyone's hanging out, do homework together, and it's really fun. And also I pick a residence hall because then I don't have to worry about cooking for myself, because we can attend the dining halls. In my case, we had one just downstairs, so basically I could eat there whenever I want, so I didn't have to worry about cooking. And also, some of my best friends live in scholarship halls. I've seen there great opportunities. I've seen you meet, it's a smaller, there are smaller buildings because you just live with either 50 guys or 50 girls.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are cool too because you build like a sense of community because they become like your brothers and sisters, and it's really fun as well. And also want to mention that in every single KU housing option, there is like a supervisor or someone in your floor. You may call him or her the resident assistant, the RA. He's basically like a mentor, like an older brother, older sister who you can attend, ask for advice, and tell them, hey, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? Or he can suggest you resources in campus. Or he's just like you, someone you need to talk to. And like, I have a great RA last year who became one of my best friends, and he helped me a lot during my transition first semester. And I like it too much that now this semester I'm one of those as well.
Yeah. And being an RA, resident assistant, is a great leadership development opportunity as well. I think all of the students I know who've done that have grown a lot personally, and it's something in your future that will show that you have leadership and management and organizational skills as well. So in addition to that, you get paid, which it's a job, and it's a job with a lot of responsibility. So I think that's a good thing. Both of you have described the variety of housing options that are on and off campus. I'll just make a little summary here because we have a lot of different types of students, different ages who might be interested. In addition to the residence halls, of which we have 12, and the scholarship halls, I'm sorry, we have how many residence halls? I missed it. We have 10 scholarship halls and I think 8 residence halls. There is also an on-campus housing complex called Jayhawk Towers. That's apartments on campus. That's reserved for graduate students and upperclassmen. And there's also Stauffer Place apartments, which are for married students and their families or graduate students. And another thing that's really nice about Lawrence is that there's a lot of off-campus housing, apartments and rental properties Many of them are very close to the campus, making it quite convenient, and also because of that great transportation system, buses run out to many of the large apartment complexes elsewhere in campus. So there's a wide range of housing options. I think both of you have said why it's a good idea, especially for an undergrad, to live on campus that first year, because you get integrated into the campus, you meet friends, your cooking is taken care of, you learn how to do your laundry.
I would also say, like, especially during your freshman semester, I will encourage to live in campus because you might not have a car. So sometimes the transportation system, I think, it only lasts until 8 or 9 p.m.
Right.
So sometimes you may need someone to call him for a ride, and sometimes you
That's
prefer
true.
just to walk back home.
That's true. So I think it's great that there are so many options. And we don't require that students live on campus, although some universities do. We don't have that requirement, but we really highly recommend it that first year for all the reasons you've mentioned. Also about cars, do either one of you have a car? You want to talk about? No. So
Yeah.
here we have two students into their second and
I have
their
American driver
third
license
year.
though.
Okay, so you can borrow a car if you need
Yeah.
it, yeah. But a lot of students do end up buying cars, used cars or even new cars after they get here, especially if they're graduate students or in their, upper level years. Let's talk a little bit now, we've covered housing, why you're here, maybe a little bit about academics. Is it a really difficult, how is the academic system or the learning environment similar to or different from what you would have had at home? Yeah, you can talk about that.
Thank you. So I started university in Brazil before coming here. I did about 6 months, if there's any Brazilian there, at UFMG in Minas Gerais. And it was good because I could see the big difference between the two systems. It was a good university back home. It had its advantages, but KU had a significantly more holistic experience. So like that's a big difference between at least a Brazilian university and that compared to most Latin American universities. Is that you go to school, you spend like maybe half a day there, 5 hours, then you go back home, and you don't get super involved with the school, which like in the U.S. and KU is a very involved university. You live in the school almost because there are social activities, there's work opportunities, there's research opportunities. There's so many classes being offered that you stay in the university, you get much more involved in the community of the university. And the classes have been great. I found overall the teachers here to be very open, very receptive. So like if you have a question, if you want to discuss something, like you can email the teacher, call him up, stop by the office. Like they give you so many opportunities to be involved with the academics. One thing you mentioned, I think there was a big deal of KU has a very flexible curriculum. That means you can take class in whatever your interest is, and I think that's a very good aspect of the academics. And it's very, very flexible. You guys should look into that. Like it's way more flexible. Like in Brazil and most Latin America, you get into a course and you have to go with your major until the end. Like the classes are pretty much decided for you, what you're gonna take. Here you can choose which branches of your area and even other areas you want to go to.
Well, I'm quite shocked because like you described your experience and mine was exactly the same. I finished high school in December and I was supposed to come here in August. Therefore, I attended a Peruvian college for 6 months as well. I attended la Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú. And it was funny because it's exactly the same situation. You just go to school and then you go back home at the end of the day. So it's not really the same as being here.
Yeah.
Here you have many more opportunities. You basically live a different college experience at all. And something that quite shocked me was the type of classes. There are going to be classes where you're going to be in a small room with professors. You're also going to have classes where you are going to be in a 300 or 400 lecture class, which is impressive, I gotta be honest, it's really impressive. But it's also cool because that moment when you are in a 400 people lecture class and you raise your hand to say the answer, the teacher is able to recognize you. And it's in that moment when you made that one-on-one interaction and he will remember you. So it's kind of cool as well. So I'm just gonna say it's different, but it's different in a good way.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're the accessibility of the professors, giving academic advising. While there's a lot of flexibility in what you might take, there is a framework from which you select to complete your degree, but there's more flexibility. And also, I'm curious if you could talk about the amount of studying it takes. How many hours do you study outside of class compared to how many hours you attend class each week?
That's a good point. I definitely had to study way more here than back home. The classes were more demanding in terms of coursework, more reading, more things to do outside of class. And I would say it varies throughout the year, you know, like some times of the year are more demanding, but I would say about 1 to 2 hours outside of classwork for each hour of sitting in class. So like if you have 1 hour of class, it's about 1 hour doing stuff outside, reading or homework.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird because like at school, when I attended at college in Peru, there were no homeworks at all.
Yeah.
So everything was optional. Here you are, you can do it if you want. So basically what happened is everyone get to the final exams or like midterm, and it was then when everyone was studying. So it was not the best idea, actually. Here they assign you home there almost every single day, and which I think is a great idea because that way you force yourself to study. And they say for every single hour you take in class, you're supposed to study 2 hours outside. Unconsciously, you end up doing that and sometimes even more because just by doing your homework, you keep studying. And like, I gotta be honest, I learned a lot.
Yeah, and I think another advantage to that, having homework or quizzes or tests throughout the semester instead of just one big one at the end, is that you have an idea of where you stand, what your grade might be. You know if you need to work harder or if you can back off a little bit because you have that feedback throughout the semester. People appreciate that.
You mentioned something about the grades, and you have an idea what grade to expect before you get to the final exam.
Yes.
For example. But also I want to say like, last semester I took summer classes, and I was in a class when I got like an 88, 89 average. So I was 1 point away to getting an A. But because the teacher knew who I was, and I was keep participating in class, he raised my participation grade to up 100, and then changed my scoring to 90%, and I got an A. So I would say teachers really appreciate you to be participating in class and going to their office hours.
Yeah. And I think that is true. In some educational systems, there's not as much participation on the student's part. It's very much expected here. And I really like your story about in a class of 400 in a large auditorium class that the professor still knew who you were, and that even though you might think that's very impersonal, you didn't have that experience. The other thing about those classes is if you happen to be in one, and usually you'll be in a few of them if you come as an undergrad, they usually have that discussion session, which is a smaller group that meets outside of the lecture, gives you a chance to have that one-on-one or more personal experience. Okay, let's think about some other things we haven't discussed yet. Have either of you, I know you've worked as an RA, have you had any jobs, or can you talk a little bit about working both on campus and then what happens when you graduate in terms of a professional job? Yeah.
Thank you. I've had a lot of work experience, very interesting stuff, because I was at KU. So like a quick, I've helped, at the beginning I got like a student assistant job, which is helping with office stuff, and that was good. But after that, and that was great, you know, because it's on campus, you can make some money, you meet more people, and it's good, totally worth it, but it wasn't quite my area. It's not what I was gonna work with. So right now I'm working as a research assistant for international finance at the business school, and also on an off-campus internship with a CPT authorization, which is a work authorization for us international students. And as a research assistant, it's amazing because you first you work one-on-one with a professor. So that means that someone's really gonna know you, and someone that I got a great, both my bosses are great. Like that's kind of cool. I don't know if people get that a lot, but both my bosses are awesome, and I go to them for advice with my own, even like, should I go to a master's degree or PhD? Should I do research? And the off-campus internship is at the Kaufman Foundation in Kansas City, which is really cool. because I didn't know before, but they are like the top-notch entrepreneurial research in the world. So like it's like stuff that literally changes U.S. policy. Like right now, I'm working on a project that's gonna be presented in Malaysia in November by the White House, and it's like that's pretty cool. And I'm just an intern, so like those are opportunities I wouldn't have had. And also, it's like just to wrap up, one more little thing is that I had international opportunities outside of the U.S. solely because of KU. So like for a summer, I worked in Spain and Switzerland because I was at KU, and it was really cool. So it's gonna open so many doors. It opened for me that I had no clue about, and it's been very interesting.
I said before that I'm working as an RA, but eventually I will apply to a couple of internships. I'm actually next week, the School of Engineering is having a career fair, and that's something I really like about KU. They have a bunch of career fair where we have a bunch of important companies to come here to campus, and we have the chance to talk to them and also do live interviews with them. You have the chance to tell your resume, which is your curriculum vitae sometimes, which is also called like that. And like you're just talking to them, but at the same time you're applying to a job.
That's right.
So it's a great opportunity.
And many people get their first professional job through those opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's great, yeah. And sometimes these internships that you're mentioning lead to employment after graduation. It happens very often in the School of Business and Engineering, I know a lot. So that's great.
I want to mention something. There was one job which I couldn't apply because that was not my major, but it was really interesting. It was because of the honors program.
I want you to talk a little bit about it.
The honors program is one of those organizations in campus where you can apply to be part of that, and it leads you to a bunch of benefits. I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. But they offer a special internship to honors students, and they were offered a couple of positions to work in the White House with White House representatives. Basically, a small chat, but it's really cool, like to get in that such great position, which will look great on a resume, and will get you a bunch of experience. So I'm really glad I'm in school and in the honors program because it gives you a bunch of different opportunities.
Yeah, I think there are so many connections with our faculty across the U.S. at high levels and internationally, as you also mentioned, that give the students connections for their future. Could you talk a little bit about the honors program, what that is? It's for undergrads.
The honors program is like, I don't know whether it's an organization actually.
It's official campus office.
It's an official campus office.
Yeah.
But once you graduate with the honors program, you get a special certificate. It's an honor transcript. You go to an honor certification. You go through the transcript, and you get a special band in your graduation as well. And because of the honors program, you get a bunch of benefits, like the chance of having different type of classes. I mentioned before that sometimes you attend a 300 or 400 people lecture class, and then you attend to a small discussion session with usually teaching assistants, which are grad students. However, if you go to an honors class, instead of having that 300 or 400 lecture class, you will have the same class with just a faculty professor in a reduced 20 or 30 people class. Therefore, you get the chance to talk directly to the professor and engage much more on the topics. You basically need to complete like seven KU honors classes, which are basically the same classes but taught in a slightly different way. Then you have to do an international or outside experience, which in this case, just because you're international, you're already fulfilling that experience. And do a freshman seminar, which is a basic introduction to the honors program when you take during the freshman semester. At this point, I gotta be honest, this semester will be my third semester at KU, and I will be over with the requirements.
Wow, that's great.
So it's really easy, and I'm probably gonna keep taking honors classes because they're really advantageous.
The honors program is a great academic enrichment opportunity for high ability students that, in some ways I've heard people say it's like there's a small college within the big university. That's a really nice. And the thing about KU is that we can accommodate every type of student, from the really high achieving student, which I have examples of here, to even an average student, or even a student who needs extra help because they are challenged academically because of the tutoring services and the academic support services that are available on campus. students of all levels really can come here and find something. Yeah. Not only is there a variety of students from different countries, a lot of variety of majors, but there are many different levels of types of courses. We've talked mostly about the undergrad experience today because we have undergrads with us, but I realize there may be some graduate students who are also watching us, and I think I would like to turn my comments a little bit to some more general things here, unless Ginger's watching the camera there. Do we have any questions coming up that we should ask? Okay. Well, one question that lots of people ask about, but before I go to that, is cost and admission requirements. And those are kind of nuts and bolts that I'd like to cover. But before I do that, I want to give each of you a chance to maybe say, I think you've already done an excellent job of summarizing. Maybe just tell me what the highlight of your experience at KU has been so far. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, just a quick observation about the honors program.
Oh, sure.
Is that I got Chukovnikov Foundation through the honors
You
program.
did?
Yeah,
Okay,
so it was
we're both honors students here.
So like it was a KU professor that connected me to the
Right.
job. So that's a cool thing about
Yep.
the faculty involvement.
That networking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highlight of my experience at KU. There have been a lot of great things. I'd say like there's so many like specific good things like professionally, socially, but I would say that the big highlight would be the life experience you get. You know, like you get to meet with people from all different countries. Like we're 3 people from 2 different countries, and it's just like a small sample. But if you go anywhere here, it's such a huge diversity. Like you have friends from all over the world now. And like, how cool is that? I think it's pretty cool. They like to meet folks from China, Saudi Arabia, Togo, plenty of countries in Africa, plenty of countries in Latin America and Europe. So I would say it's a life experience. You grow so much as a person. And if you're thinking about applying to school, I know you are because you're here. If it's just a little suggestion, is that like do it through the end, because I know it's hard. It's so easy to give up when you're doing it because you have to take tests that you're not used to. You have to learn a new language, and that's pretty hard. You gotta talk to a lot of people, and I understand like we all had to go through that, and it's hard. It's a complicated process, but finish it because it's totally worth it. Really is.
Probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life was to come to KU, let's be honest.
That's so great to hear you say those things, because I
Yeah.
know it comes from your heart.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I really love this place. And I love the people especially because like one of my best friends was the guy who was my neighbor in my residence hall. And like that moment when we came to Thanksgiving break, where it's 1 week that they close the school to celebrate one of the most American traditions, Thanksgiving, you have to go somewhere because you can stay in campus, but usually people go back home to celebrate family. And I got this guy to invite me to his house for 1 week, and like that meant a lot to me because like he's probably one of my best friends nowadays. And I just like how it's easy to talk to people, meet people. You just start a conversation, and sometimes you're not talking with them like for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you become your best friends.
Yeah. I think that openness is a special Midwestern characteristic. Although, yeah, and also I think a lot of people are surprised because we are located right in the middle of the United States. We're not New York, we're not California, that we have such a diverse student population and that we have this large international group of students from everywhere. And the beauty of having all these friendships and connections with people is pretty remarkable in the middle of the USA. I know a lot of people want to know things about the admission requirements and about funding, so I do want to just take a few minutes to talk about funding opportunities and, also, but before I do, because Francesco has to go to class.
I have a class at 1.
We were so lucky to have both of you come and take time out of your very busy schedules to connect with your compatriots at home and throughout the southern hemisphere. So if you want to just make any closing comments, then I'll wait till after you exit before I do my final wrap up.
I would just like to say like, just come to KU. It's probably one of the best decisions you will ever make in your life. And if is there anyone from Lima or Peru, please come. I really want to meet you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Francesco. We really appreciate your involvement.
See you guys. I'm going to class.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, how about you, Arnovio? You want to make any wrap-up comments before I go into the nuts and bolts here?
It's very similar to what Francesca said. You know, I know it's hard. You know, like it's a lot of work you got to do to get here, but do it. It's totally worth it. And feel free. I don't know how you guys do that, but if you wanna, if there's anyone that has further questions, you can put them in touch with me.
Okay.
And you know, from around, and if you have specific question, want to talk to a student. And another closing comment is, like, they just called us up and we came here. Like, they didn't ask us to say anything. So it's all us here. There's nothing.
No prompting.
No prompting at all. Zero really. So it's really cool.
That's especially meaningful, I think, because you're talking from your own experiences, and we didn't coach you to say certain things.
At all.
And you did a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you can stay if you want.
I'll take
you have a little bit of time. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to apply, but also about funding opportunities. It does so happen that both of the students who are with us today were outstanding students from high school and post-secondary, and were very fortunate to receive some of the scholarships that KU offers. And we, for undergraduates, those would be students who are studying for their bachelor's degree, have some excellent funding opportunities or scholarships for our new international students. We have some scholarships that we call the International Merit Awards or the KU Endowment Awards that range between $4,000 and $10,000 per year. And then we have the special program, the KU IIE Scholarship, which is a tuition waiver. The value ranges anywhere from $21,000 to $25,000 a year, depending on what you're majoring in and how many courses you take. But that's almost 2/3 of the costs of attendance at KU. So students who are bright enough and motivated enough to be considered for these awards can really make a big difference in their cost of university. Our scholarship requirements are pretty hefty. We are looking for the best students in our applicant pool, and we look at the grades, that they make an early application. January 15th is our deadline for scholarships for the fall, and we only make these awards in the fall semester. We look at the grades that the student took in high school or after high school, and the courses that they took, making sure that they had a very strong curriculum. And we also look at the TOEFL or the IELTS score being high enough that the student can go directly into the university courses without additional intensive English. SAT or ACT scores are also required. There are no specific cutoff scores there, but again, we're looking at the best scores in our pool. We also look at how the student was involved in other activities, leadership or service or any other special recognitions that they may have had before they applied to the university. The students have to write an essay or a statement of purpose and then have strong letters of recommendation from their teachers or counselors. Again, the deadline for our scholarships for the fall semester is January 15th. We need a complete application by that deadline to be considered. Let me talk a bit about funding opportunities for graduate students. The graduate students are students who are getting their master's or their PhD degrees here. Now, they apply through a different office on campus. They apply through our Graduate Application Processing Center. And the awards that are given to graduate students, again, are competitive, and they're based on merit, not on financial need. They're given by the individual academic department, so they're not centrally administered. So the most typical types of funding that students would get for graduate students would be graduate assistantships, either teaching or research assistantships, for which the student is paid and receives either a full tuition waiver or a partial tuition waiver. There are also some scholarships for grad students, some loans, and some grants available. But again, if you are a graduate applicant and you want to be considered for financial assistance, you would need to contact the individual program that you are applying to, because it varies from program to program what is available. Speaking of costs, let's just go to the next slide and talk about the cost estimates. We are about an average cost university of our size and scope. It's not inexpensive, but we are not as high as some other institutions. Our tuition for undergraduate ranges between $22,000 and $29,000 per academic year, depending on what the major is and how many courses the student takes. The living expenses are about $12,000, so the total package for one academic year does range between $34,000 and $39,000. That would be including everything. If you apply as a freshman, you can come in and over a 4-year period, which is about the amount of time it takes to graduate, there's no tuition increase. Now, graduate students' costs are slightly different. That would be the next slide. They take fewer credit hours per semester, and our tuition fees are based on how many credit hours the student is enrolled in, so it's a little bit less, ranging between $15,000 and upwards to $35,000 per academic year for tuition. And again, if you are fortunate enough to get an assistantship, that can bring it down considerably by either a tuition waiver or a combination of a tuition waiver and a stipend. I want to talk a little bit about our admission. I don't have too much more time here, so I'm going to talk really fast. If you are applying as an undergraduate for a bachelor's degree, you make that application through our office, International Recruitment and Undergrad Admissions. This would be for freshmen or transfer students. There's an online application that you can access, and what we basically are looking at are the grades and the curriculum that you had in high school or after you completed high school. We look at a minimum grade point average of a 2.5 on the 4-point scale. We will make a conversion of your grades out of your grading system over to our 4-point scale system. We have staff in our office who are able to evaluate in that way. We do require the TOEFL or the IELTS, although no minimum score is required. The higher the score, the greater chances of you being able to go directly into the university courses, though. If a student's English is not strong and they need to take the ESL courses prior to enrollment in their university courses, that is an option as well. The SAT or the ACT is not required for general admission. However, it is required, either one of those are required for certain special programs which also have higher standards in their grades, like our schools of architecture, design and urban planning, engineering, and business do have a higher grade point average requirement, and also specific ACT or SAT scores that are required. So that's kind of a quick summary of the undergrads. On the graduate level, that would be for masters or PhDs, really the admission requirements vary widely from program to program. However, the basic minimum requirement to any graduate program would be that a student had completed a bachelor's degree, a 4-year bachelor's degree with a minimum 3.0, which is a B grade average in our system. TOEFL and IELTS are required with specific scores. The GRE for most of the graduate programs is required. Some other programs have standardized tests like the GMAT or the PCAT. References and statement of purpose are also required in addition to the application form and fee. Again, this would all be done online. There are different deadlines depending on the program that you're applying to. I'm not going to go into all the detail about that because I need to summarize things, and I want Arnobio to say one final thing in Portuguese, and then we'll sign off because we're almost finished with our time here. Before I do that, Ginger, were there any other questions that students asked? Okay, well, I think we had a great presentation today. I hope you got a feeling for the University of Kansas, and we'll be really eager to chat with you throughout the rest of the day and encourage you to take materials from our online booth and be in touch with us if you have more questions. Just like Arnobio and Francesca said, in addition to the faculty being very accessible to help you, we are also, because we want to get you here. And we think we have some really great things to offer you, and hope you will consider the University of Kansas. I want to say a final concluding comment. You can speak in any language you choose.
Então, pessoal, a experiência aqui é muito boa e é verdade. Tem sido maravilhoso. Abriu portas no mundo inteiro para mim e conheci gente de todo mundo. Nem assim, mudou minha vida, de verdade. Então, se vocês tiverem tiver oportunidade, vem. E importante, isso é importante. O processo é difícil, eu sei que é. Mas vale 1000% a pena. Vale muito, muito a pena para mudar a sua vida. Valeu, obrigado.
Thank you very much. So Rock Chalk Jayhawk, go
Okay.
KU. Thank you again, and we'll say goodbye for now.